Okay, so this is the installation of my sandwich plate for my oil feed, turbo oil feed. So what I did was I bought this off eBay, and it's something I struggled to find much information on with the VVTi version of the 2JZGE turbo conversion. So yeah, this seems like the most obvious way to do it from a high pressure area off the oil filter housing. So literally I've already mounted my hose to the sandwich plate. The sandwich plate is going to go on top of the housing in there, and I'm going to stick my filter back on the other side of it, and that should do the job. So I've stuck in my sandwich plate for the turbo oil feed, and then I'm going to stick my oil filter on here for the first time on this built engine. So that's an exciting little moment. And the oil feed is just going to go nice and neatly up around the back of the engine, or around the back of the head at least, and I'll route that around there, and that will sit nicely on the turbo there. So happy. All right, so I'm just going to do a quick rundown on where I'm up to with the Datsun. Not that far off now, I reckon. So cold side, I've done pretty much everything. Injectors are on, wiring's all on that cold side for injection. I've just finished putting on the turbo oil feed with the oil filter. Most of the wiring on this side is done. Throttle position sensor, throttle cable is actually done. It isn't fully adjusted yet. Fuel system, so we've got the fuel pressure regulator running through a pair of Walbro 340s or whatever they are in a 1 litre surge tank, running off the existing standard tank in the vehicle, with I think like a 80 litre per hour sort of external inline pump just to feed the surge tank. I've got some 1700cc Bosch injectors. I didn't want to run into a scenario where I put 1000ccs or something in it, and then I could be making a bit more power, but I can't because I've run out of injector. So I'm hoping that they're not too big, and I'm hoping that I can get away with that. I've got the Bosch, are they Bosch? I've got the coil-on plug set up, which is the GTR, yeah, R35 GTR coil-on plug, and they are, I think they're Hitachi actually, they're the Hitachi ones, so didn't go for the eBay specials on that. I've got the Haltech loom, which is with the Haltech ECU. So heaps of the hard stuff wiring wise is already thought about, which is really good, because it's not plug and play. There's no way it's plug and play. There is still a lot of thinking to do, and there's a lot of there's still plugs and makeup to do, and then obviously getting it from the ECU to the actual car as well. There's a bit of that involved, but the ECU is the Elite 2500, which is way more capable than what we actually need for what we're trying to run here, because at the moment I won't be running anything digital internally. I'm going to try and just keep it as a stock looking, Datsun. So yeah, in terms of starting it, I've got a radiator and that is ready to go. I've got pipes for it ready to go, so that's all just a stick-on job. Next thing I suppose is the turbo with the wastegate manifold and the dump pipe out of it, and the exhaust pipe. I don't think I'm that far away from the first starter. So it has had the GTE pistons and rods put in it, and I've obviously put new shells all through it and new rings and so on and so forth. So it is, the head's had a fair bit of work as well. There's a fair bit of head work going on. So it is like a brand new engine, or at least a rebuilt engine. It's not a fully forged engine or anything like that. They are just the stock GTE rods and pistons. So yeah, trying not to get too carried away with the power and trying to find a safe, reliable place to run some pretty decent-ish power for a car that only weighs 1,100 kilos. Alright, so this is my bog water which I'm planning to run, and it's S30 I'm not really sure what the original application was for this, because I bought it second hand. It has had the internal wastegate sort of modified, cut off altogether. So I will have an external wastegate, big old thing. It's got a billet turbo wheel as well. So yeah, it should be a pretty serious contender. Just about fits in the hole. I'm going to stick I'm just going to stick a silicone hose on this. Obviously that doesn't sit there, it sits a bit further around that way, but I'll probably just stick a silicone elbow on it for now, because I want to get the thing running, and I need to sort of figure out whether this whole setup and this whole scenario and these injectors with this turbo and everything else is gonna sort of like be compatible. So I'm not going to go too crazy with sort of modding the turbo wheel, or the turbo housing yet. So I've got to figure out what to do with my wastegate, and I wanted to try to get the wastegate sort of sitting up here, which is the best way to do it, so that obviously it's changeable at some point, or it's easier to change springs and so on. I've got to do some welding for that, so that's kind of like my next thing to play around with, and then obviously getting the actual exhaust down and out, and making up an exhaust. So I've borrowed a really nice TIG off a mate of mine, which is behind me actually, so that I can have a play with that and get some time on it. Looks like we've got a fair bit of line there for the oil feed. There's a little bit more modifying to do for the actual turbo drain on the sump, which is fairly straightforward now. I've just got to do a bit of welding on there. So I think we're not that far on now off of the first startup, so I'll make sure I do a bit of filming when it comes to the fabrication and the welding and so on. We'll go from there. So that's a little update on the Datsun, and cheers for watching. The first start is coming soon.